Good day, everyone. I am Meghann Ailah, Pueto, your reporter, and today's session, we are going to discuss about autonomy. So, what is autonomy? Let's define first. Autonomy is an individual's capacity for self-determination or self-governance. The word autonomy came from the Greek word autos, meaning self, and nomos, meaning law. When combined, self-law. Heteronomy refers to the action that is influenced by a force outside the individual. It is also the state or condition of being ruled, governed, or under the sway of another. The word heteronomy came from the Greek word heteros, meaning others, and nomos, meaning law. When combined, others, law. Hey Ryan, go and brush your teeth now or else your teeth will rot. Come on now, Liza. If you will brush your teeth in 5 minutes, I will let you play your computer game tonight. In the case of Ryan and Liza, are they autonomous? From our definition of autonomous a while ago, do you think the given example are autonomous or not? Certainly not, because their parents are the ones that legislate the principle that children should brush their teeth before they go to bed and impose such a principle by using threats or incentives. Now, think about Ryan and Liza 20 years later. Suppose they brush their teeth every night before they go to bed, and they do so without prodding of their parents. Prodding means pinipilit. They conclude that first, they agree with the principle behind it or the oral hygiene, which is an act of legislating a principle, because they believe na about the principle na sinasabi ng parents nila. And second, every night, they impose upon themselves to brush their teeth before going to bed, which is an acting of the principles. They apply it in the real life. Are they autonomous? The action that Ryan and Liza did 20 years after was described by Kant as the will is thus not only subject to the law, but it is also subject to the law in such a way that it gives the law to itself or self-legislating, and primarily just in this way that the will can be considered the author of the law under which it is not subjected. But the meaning of autonomous is unusual. When we think of someone being subject to the law, we usually think of an imposing authority figure that uses his power to control the subject into complying with this will. Subject comes from the Latin words sub meaning under and gesture meaning to throw or brought under something. Will is defined as the authority figure giving the law to itself. It is the faculty of the mind that decides or selects. Kant describes autonomy as the will that is subject to a principle or law. Remember Ryan and Liza and the principle of brushing their teeth. Heteronomy is the simple legislation and imposition of a law by an external authority, or a person must brush your teeth before going to bed. Heteronomy meaning may other person na involved sa action or sa principle. Their parents are the external figures, and the law is imposed externally by rewards or punishment. Just like sa example, nasabi ng parents ni Ryan na pag hindi siya mag-brush ng teeth is malalata yung ngipin niya. And about Liza naman is papayagan siya maglaro ng computer. If the author of the law is external, the will is subjected to an external authority, thus heteronomous will. In contrast, if the author was the will itself, imposing the law unto self, then we describe the will as autonomous. So again, heteronomous will if my external will na involved, and it is autonomous if it is self-will and the law was imposed to one self. Trivial actions such as brushing one's teeth can hardly be considered moral. So brushing one's teeth cannot always be considered as moral because real moral issues often involve actions like stealing, lying, and murder, in that they can have certain gravity insofar as those actions directly harm or benefit the will of other person. For example, we have a scenario of Reggie found a suitcase. What if Reggie did not return the suitcase, destroyed the lock, then took and sold its valuable contents? Is this not an act of irrational will? After Reggie found the suitcase, he came up with this principle. I am entitled to benefit from this lost suitcase. I am the author of this principle. I am acting autonomously. What do you think of Reggie's principle that he could benefit from other people's loss because they are careless and thus do not deserve to keep those things? Is it still autonomous agency when a person enacts any apparently self-legislated principle? From the scenario that Reggie found a suitcase and he believes that he deserved that suitcase kasi kasalanan naman yun ng may-ari kung bakit nawala niya yung suitcase, and for Reggie, it is destined na para sa kanya and he believes that he is acting autonomously kasi wala namang involved, hindi naman binigay sa kanya yung suitcase and kusa niya lamang itong nakita. When Reggie said, I am entitled to benefit from this lost suitcase, is that what autonomy properly means? We will answer that later, and for now we are going to discuss rational will versus animal impulses. There is a difference between what determines a choice or decision, whether it is caused by sensible impulses or by pure reason. When we say sensible impulses are usually bodily and emotional, such as the urge to eat, drink, sleep, or have sexual intercourse, comprise the set of human compulsions for survival and the propagation of the species. Jealousy from seeing your girlfriend or boyfriend make eyes at someone, and the rage from being pushed foully by your opponent in a basketball game. Animal choice or arbitrum brutum are a set of actions that are caused by sensible impulses, or the reaction that you had is called animal choice. There is a choice or action that is determined by pure reason and can call this kind of action as free choice. When we say free choice, it is our capacity to make choices that are genuinely our own. Rationality was described as the mental capacity to construct ideas and thought that are beyond one's immediate surroundings. Kant described that human choice can be affected but is not determined by sensible impulses. This implies that we are indeed basically animals, but we cannot be reduced to mere animality. The human person is not only an animal but also rational. Autonomy is a property of the will that only during instances when the action is determined by pure reason. When the action is determined by sensible impulses, despite the source of those impulses being nevertheless internal, it is considered heteronymous. Kant confirms this point when he states that the action caused by a sensible impulses results always only in the heteronomy of the will because it is what we call a foreign impulse. Let's go back to Reggie. Reggie is not acting autonomously, supposing he was to take and benefit from the contents of the suitcase. Why would we consider his will as being heteronymous? Bakit i-consider natin na heteronymous siya? Because the sensible impulse would be the cause of such an action, whether it is greed or the excitement of obtaining easy money without working for it, or the shame that arises from being unable to provide for his family. If you are in the situation of Reggie, you would also feel that. You will be happy too. And madaming pumapasok sa isip mo after you found a suitcase. From this lesson, We could conclude that heteronomy of the will occurs when any foreign impulse, whether it is external, as in other persons or institutions that impose their will on the agent, or sensible, as in bodily instincts or base emotion, is what compels a person to act. Autonomy is the property of the will in those instances when pure reason is the cause of the action. That ends our session for this day. I hope you learned something. Thank you for listening.